Karla Singson. I enjoyed talking to her so much. It was great. She's a Filipino background, right? She's from the Philippines. Wonderful story. English is taught as one of the primary languages there, and she's the firstborn. She's the oldest. Um, she did go to private school. Her parents sent her to private school, but it's not like it is here. It's very different. She classifies herself as lower middle class, but a series of events. She had a hustle. Her parents died in her 20s. She started a flower company. She did all of these things, and she eventually sent her sister to the U.S. first. Then she came, and now she does business process outsourcing. So you're a small business, you're a large business, you want to outsource some of the roles, you would go to her. We talk about what that looks like. There's lots of stigma to that. People are afraid to do it. In this virtual society where people aren't coming into the office very often, is it that different that your employee is from another country? We talk about just how that transacts. I know my company, we've looked into it. We've done it in our past as well. Even, virtual assistants, for example, project managers, but just the way that transacts. And then her view on discipline, given her extraordinary background and what she had to fight for, is just remarkable. I asked her what motivates her, and I'm just going to use one word, and it's a prominent theme in our discussion, and that's peace. Thanks for listening. Hi. I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business that lasted over 25 years? Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission, how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family and their passion and their careers and how it helped them. Our podcast vision, growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. Very excited to talk to you, Karla Singson. Thanks you so much for your time today. So what do business owners, what do people owning businesses of any size need to understand about outsourcing to Philippines, to any nation?
Oh, I love that. So jumping right in. I feel like a lot of people, one of the misconceptions that a lot of people have when outsourcing to the Philippines, outsourcing to other countries, is how little work they feel like they need to do after they're introduced the person or after they find someone who will take care of the tasks that they want to outsource. So where I see a lot of people fail is that when they don't have a proper onboarding system, it's sad because sometimes it is the right match, but because expectations weren't clear, they tend to make mistakes, and then it turns into not a very good relationship. So I've seen this happen to friends, to clients with their past experiences. And so I feel like if someone is thinking about outsourcing, the first thing that they need to think about is, after, obviously hiring the right person, and then how can I honor this person's time so that I can get the tasks done in the manner that I expect them, to be done. And I also honor this person's expertise and time in helping me achieve my goals in my business.
So just like any business generally has an onboarding procedure for
Mhm.
somebody in person, somebody that's local to them. And these days with
Right.
virtual, that's kind of getting clouded. But so should onboarding be the same when they're outsourced, when they're in another nation?
Right. So I think the principles are definitely the same. You want them to understand your mission, you want them to buy into what kind of a vision you have, and you want them to be a culture fit in your company. So you want all of these things, and you can achieve that through a mix of traditional practices. Like in traditional businesses, we have like our employees handbook, right? And then
Yes.
we have that, say, like a welcome memo or something, and then you bring this person out to the pantry at lunchtime and you introduce them, maybe buy a box of donuts to make it a good time. And so there are, online versions of this. I would definitely recommend a handbook, also like a PDF version of a handbook, and an onboarding session which communicates their job description, the mission of the company, the vision of the owner, and also give the new team member a safe space, basically, to ask questions and also share their personal goals. Um, I think, being virtual after the pandemic, we all kind of got forced to accepting this new way of working, and we kind of approached that situation because we had to.
Hmm.
This type of workplace is actually still really new to a lot of us in terms of basically human evolution, right? We're still new to this. We're just learning things. So I think communication is very important, onboarding, and I think the most important thing is aligned expectations.
Yeah, really sharing the company core values, their mission, their vision. Uh, so did the pandemic hurt, help, or has it been indifferent to outsourcing?
In our industry, I would say definitely helped.
Hmm.
Most of our growth as a company was during the pandemic. So I've been in outsourcing since 2017. Well, technically since 2010, basically when I was a writer and I would outsource some of my writing gigs. But as a business, I formalized it in 2017. So that was 3 years before the pandemic. And then when the pandemic happened, there was just a major jump in our growth. And it was great. So it was a good thing for our industry. However, because there are a lot of new practices and a lot of expectations that are new, there were also some challenges. Like I'll share one basically. So in face to face, when we're doing face to face meetings, we are with them face to face, right? And even if you're an introvert, you don't have to talk during the meeting, I guess, but you have to be there. You have to be there in the meeting if you're needed. In Zoom, the Zoom version of this is people turning off their cameras. And I learned that, and they are still in the meeting, but they're just maybe introverted or shy than
Hmm.
other people. And then I recently learned that some people take this as an insult, and that they
Hmm.
feel like the person in the meeting is not fully present or might be doing something else. I was so shocked. I unfortunately worked with someone, a consultant, who was angry when
Wow.
someone didn't turn on their camera in the meeting, and she was just so insulted. Literally like the virtual version of table flipping.
Hmm.
Yeah, she was mad. She was livid.
Wow. I
Yeah.
guess that you know did outsourcing help primarily just because there was just during the pandemic there was just unemployment shot down and we needed here I'm talking about when I say we I apologize I mean in the states
Hmm.
needed just more help and there wasn't a lot to find so we needed to get and also since everybody was forced to work home what's the difference if they're working from another state or working from another country it shouldn't make that much of a difference.
Right, right. Very, very good question. So I this is quite sensitive topic because I'm Filipina. I grew
Yeah.
up in the Philippines, but then I do a lot of business in the States. And in fact, a lot of people think I'm from the States or I've studied in America, but I only moved there in 2019 after traveling around the world when I had a speaker career before. And and so people ask me like, we know you're not American, but how do you feel about like taking away jobs from America? And I'm like, you know what? When the pandemic happened, yeah, a lot of people got laid off, right, around the world. It's not
Mm.
just America, around the world. A lot of businesses closed down, and but that doesn't mean that these skills or that these jobs aren't needed. Some of these tasks still need to be done, and people were in a tight budget, and so the option for them really, their backs were against the wall, and the option for them is outsourcing, and that helped these Americans, most of our clients are Americans. That helped them keep their business afloat.
Hmm.
And the other side of that is a lot of the people who were actually laid off started their own businesses finally. And what is a better way to start that with the least amount of risk, financial risk? Sometimes it's also to outsource. So I personally don't believe in quote unquote taking away jobs. I
Hmm.
think jobs are there for people to get or to deserve, and we're all just working here.
Hmm.
um, and to your next question of what it's like working with people from another culture, this is really once again the magic of good onboarding process, because a lot of our clients, it's their first time to work with Filipinos or people from a totally different culture. And so the onboarding process helps in aligning expectations and communicating, emphasizing on the differences. Like, I'll give you an example. In the Philippines, we don't care about Thanksgiving, right? It's not a thing for us. We work during that week.
Hmm.
Um, but in America, in that whole week, people are working loosely, and of course, like, I think no one works, hopefully, except for the essential people, to work on Thursday and Friday, right? Thanksgiving dinner and all that. But the version of this in the Philippines is Holy Week. So Holy Week is from, if you're Catholic, from Palm Sunday to Easter Sunday. And
Oh,
in that
okay.
week, yeah, people don't really work. We kind of work loosely or half day, and then the Good Friday is kind of really sacred for us. Like, nobody should work on that day. You spend time with your family, and use that time for prayer and reflection. So that's one. And then the other thing is, if you're working with team members from other countries, the other thing to think about is calamities,
Hmm.
typhoons, earthquakes. Sometimes it is rare. It would happen once a year, but it could unfortunately happen on a big launch that you have, right? And then your teammate has no electricity, or has no internet connection, or is very challenging. So that's also kind of another thing to prepare for. So, and then outside of that, it's really just communication, and open communication, and communicating expectations.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me. You describe your which I didn't realize. You describe your childhood there in the Philippines as you said. I think you said you were kind of lower middle class, and you went to private school, but it's not like private school here. And eventually, you graduated. I think university. I think you said at 19. And my condolences. Your parents both passed when you were in your 20s, so you were forced to hustle, and you sent your sister over before you came. I mean, you've really worked hard, Carla, to get where you are now.
I did. I did. Um, I always tell my friends that I don't remember my 20s,
Huh.
because it was all hustle. It was all hustle. And I was the eldest child of my family. And, in our culture, the eldest child that has to provide for the rest of the kids, even if you don't lose your parents, actually. Um, a lot of families actually invest in their eldest children, and only in
Wow.
their eldest children, because they know that they're eldest children will help the other siblings.
And your English is perfect. Talk to me about the English in the Philippines. I mean, it's taught all in regular schools. You said like the housekeepers speak it. Everybody speaks it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a good thing with the Philippines. Actually, everyone speaks English. Our medium of instruction is English. So if you go on a vacation in the Philippines and you're lost, you don't need to be scared of a language barrier.
All
Some of
right.
them will have thicker accents. I've traveled a lot, so my accent has softened. Um, and yeah, everyone speaks English. And the other part of this is that, especially with the people I work with in my outsourcing company, it is very common for a lot of kids in college through with a college gap year or right after college to take a job at a BPO or business process outsourcing company, which is mostly customer support focused.
Mm.
So one example is companies like Verizon, AT&T, PayPal, Western Union, they all outsource to the Philippines.
Hmm.
My sister's first job was 1-800-Flowers. She was a call center agent for 1-800-Flowers, finding lost deliveries and stuff like that. So the good advantage of outsourcing to the Philippines, especially if you're an American company, is a lot of the people there are used to working with American standards and with
Mm.
Americans, which, like getting to know their culture. We didn't just watch like a few American Pie movies or Friends and then we get the American
Right.
culture. We
Right.
also interact with Americans, people from the other side of the world on a day-to-day basis. And that's a very common kind of a starter job for a lot of college kids.
Yeah, you mentioned 1-800-Flowers. You actually started a flower business with your family, and you had like engagement rings as well. I mean, you just really hustled, Karla.
I did. Well, quick story about the flower shop is I had I have no flower experience, but I sat with myself when I just graduated, and I just thought hard. I just asked myself, what is the thing that most people overpay for and are okay with it?
Mm.
And then I thought, well, if you go to Walmart, a bunch of flowers is $18, but if you want them delivered to your wife, it's $48. And somehow we just accepted this. That's like that's like almost a 300% markup over
Right.
there. And we're just, oh, I mean, you've sent a bunch of flowers in your life, hopefully.
Certainly.
Yes.
And
So
received.
and receive. So that's beautiful. You've been on both ends. And, we just accepted this. We just accepted that this
Yeah.
is the price of flowers. And so I was like, I'm going to do that. And so I watched a few YouTube videos, basic flower arrangement. I just learned it. And then there was no social media. So what I did is I went on these forums filled with men. So I joined car forums, shoes, sneaker forums, sports forums, and I had like a gender vague name, right? And then in these forums, there are a lot of men, and there's even though the forums are about a certain topic, they would always have a general chat. If you guys remember, you know, I don't know how old you guys are, but yeah, before social media, it was forums, right? We hung out there in
Right.
these chat rooms. And so there would always be a general chat where you can just talk about anything. And so from time to time, I would just put like, hey guys, any of you wants to buy flowers for your girlfriends, your moms, your wives, check out my little website, and I'll give you a deal if you mention this forum or some. Say that we're friends here or we're connected in this forum, and I'll give you a deal. And
Smart.
that's how I started.
Smart. Very smart. Yeah, you went to their watering hole and you found a need. It's fascinating. And so now here you are as you mentioned, a BPO, right? A business process outsourcing. And if I work with a lot of technology companies, Karla, and
Mhm.
the biggest thing, they're all technicians, they're all tech led, so they're great engineers,
Right.
but they can't sell.
Ooh.
They can't sell, they can't market. If they talk to a prospect, they start dazzling them with technical terms. It's just not good. So they need help with sales and marketing. I mean,
Mm.
is it possible to think you can have one person that can do both, that can help a technical company do that?
Very interesting question. I think the gap there really is more of a personality type than, because these tech people are super smart, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they are super smart.
Yes. Not
So
interpersonal though, unfortunately. The personal
yeah,
skills aren't
that's
there.
that's why I don't date tech guys.
Yeah,
Like,
me either. Yeah.
so um, it's just funny that they're very smart people, and it's not that they're unwilling. It's just a
Right.
personality type, and then you can't change that, because the personality type will shape someone's preferences, and someone's preferences will also shape how good they want to be at something. So if I don't like it, I don't want to be good at it.
Right.
Even if I'm bad at it, I will only want to be good at it if I like it, right? So just like golf, I'm bad at golf, but I like it, so I'll keep going. I'll keep going. So I think the to your question of, is this person like a unicorn? Absolutely. However, I feel like if these tech people would either partner up with someone who can handle this part, because it's not just talking, really, it's also understanding, it's asking the right questions. Marketing is really asking the right questions,
Sure is.
and I think sales is really, is empathy. It's a lot of empathy,
Mm.
and it's a lot of interpersonal skills. How I hire a salesperson is, if I like talking to them, I can train them up for sales. That's my
Mm.
one. If they're genuinely interesting, if I don't need alcohol to like them, that person will make a good salesperson. That's really my only requirement. I don't care how many millions you've sold. I don't care if I like you, and if I feel like you can be a representative of my brand and you're teachable and coachable. I think anyone can turn themselves into an amazing salesperson.
Yeah, I agree. It begs the question is that if you have a lot of friends that you like to be around only when there's alcohol, I guess there's a deeper question there, Carla, but
Oh
that's another
yeah.
that's
Ooh.
another
Ooh.
conversation. So a business development reps like a BDR. So if if the tech company can somehow get some emails out and then somebody needs to follow up with them, make an appointment for the tech person to talk to them, certainly that's a job role that must be typical.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a nuance here too. A lot of good salespeople that are good closers, they don't want to follow up. They're not very diligent at
No,
following
they're
up,
not. No, they're
because
not.
yeah, their personality type is, like a showman, right?
Yes.
If when they're on the call, oh, they're confident. They're like a 10, right? They're like the guy. They're like the hot buff surfer dude. They have that attitude. But when it comes to diligence, unfortunately, a lot of them don't have the diligence of following up, remembering what was the problem in the call, and then specifically following up on that, and having like kind of like this high touch experience when talking to a lead or a prospect that can help them cross them over into actually buying the thing that you're selling.
Mm.
So that's a little nuance. But to your question of, what needs to be done, what are our expectations maybe of these BDRs, business development reps, it's mostly diligence related, but
Mm.
because it's a position that is still related to sales, it has to be, the interaction has to be custom. So in my experience in outsourcing, for our clients that hire appointment setters with us, or business development representatives, they are with the client or the prospect or the leads from front to back. So from booking the call, and then after the closer has closed the sale, they will still do the follow up, because they establish that trust. And
Interesting.
then they also participate until the handoff to the client success manager. And so this is actually And I think that the trilogy of appointment setter,
Hmm.
closer, and client success manager, honestly, I think this is the magic like trilogy that every business should have, because with this like trio, you can really do a lot and close a lot of sales and have really good retention. um, one of the biggest feats we had, I have as a outsourcing company founder, is we took our outsourcing company. Previously, I had one with a partner, from zero to a seven-figure company in a
Yeah, I
year
saw that.
without spending anything on ads. And the magic of that was really honestly great client success managers. So CSMs, they get the information from the closer, and then their only job is to be obsessed with client experience, and that's it.
To keeping them.
Yeah, keeping that relationship, giving them delight, not just satisfaction. And we literally say this, if you guys are hiring a CSM role right now, put this in your job description or in your announcement. Your job is measured only in three things: retention, testimonials, and reviews. And that's it really. And the smart people that rise to this like challenge, those are the people that will know what to do. They will know what to do. They won't need SOPs. I mean, of course you have SOPs, but they're not gonna be like nitpicky. They will know what to do.
And of course, standard operating procedures is an SOP.
Yes.
Yeah, we need that in order to get certain functions that are easily repeatable into a uniform format, so they can execute on that. But that's very interesting. So the appointment setting, the closing, and then the CSM, the client success manager. Are those three roles or one role?
Those are three roles. Yeah, these are
Yes.
three different people. These are honestly for us, because we hire all the time, we recruit all the time. I have amazing recruiters in my team who have recruited for Amazon, and we have consultants from Microsoft that are working with us as well. Um, we we literally believe that these three people are of three different personality types,
Mm.
and different strengths. Like, um, if I would say top value for appointment setters, diligence. Top value for a closer is showmanship and empathy. Like, they have to go hand in hand. And top value of a client success manager is problem solving, because they understand your needs, kind of more like understanding, right? If they understand your needs, they understand your goals, they understand what it's like to let you down and what it's like to really make you super happy. So yeah, I think if you guys are looking to find a team to help you scale, honestly, I think this is really it, and you guys should invest in this trio.
Have you written blogs about this, Carla?
No, actually, you know what? This just came to me as an epiphany,
You're a writer.
because I know, I know. I'm actually going back to writing. I'm going back to writing. I'm telling my team I have no phone days Monday and Friday, and
Wow.
only as needed Tuesdays to Thursdays. And I told them I'm gonna spend a lot of time writing now. The writing bug has bit me. Even my journals, my personal journals, I would write until my hands hurt. And
Wow.
yeah, so I'm going to talk more about this, but this is the first podcast actually that I talked about it publicly.
And are you writing fiction, nonfiction? What are you writing?
Oh, so I write a lot of like business content,
Huh.
but for fun, I write poetry, and I used to perform as well. So anyway, that's a little embarrassing, but yeah,
Why is that embarrassing?
I don't know. It's just kind of like hippie.
You're putting it out there, sure. And is it always pen to paper or are you typing?
Pen and paper. Yeah, I'm such a paper girl. I
Me
I
too.
I bought two Kindles and threw them away. I I betrayed myself twice. What about you? What about you, Joy?
Yeah, I write everything down. I'm writing as we talk now. I just write everything down and I scan it in and I throw out the original. So I don't want a bunch of paper around, but I do journal every day. But it's fascinating, that the intersection of business writing and actually business is, I mean, you've just given so much great content right there, Karla, about so many of the tech companies. Sales becomes a dirty word to a lot of these companies, right?
Mm,
Because they think used car salesperson, they think, the
mhm,
technician, great. They're very smart, but often the interpersonal skills aren't there. And they,
mhm,
sales, oh, we'll just get somebody to sell and go sell and that's it. And then we'll do the real work. And they've got to be as respected. The soft skills have to be respected just as much as the hard skills. So to
mhm.
get, that, to get that salesperson, if they can't get it in person, to outsource it, wherever it may be, they have to value it. There has to be that there. And your writing perhaps can be the bridge between both.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. um, but on that topic of writing too, I think a lot of people already know that Amazon or Jeff Bezos um, repeatedly talked about a right first culture. And
Hmm.
if any one of you guys also are also fans, or not even, you don't have to be a fan of, like, Jordan Peterson. He talks about how writing forces you to think better, because when you write something on paper, it's going to be there, and you see it, and your personal standards are catching up as you're
Mm.
talking to yourself, and so you're motivated to think better. So I think that could be actually, a good exercise for these tech people. Try to talk to your clients, write to your clients more, write to them, ask them
Yeah.
questions. Yeah. If you're an introvert, that's fine. Write them a letter, write them an email.
What's your view on ChatGPT?
Oh, I love ChatGPT. My team has been AI trained since Jasper came out,
Hmm.
so we're very happy to be familiar with how AI works when ChatGPT blew up. I think it's a good tool. It has definitely empowered my virtual assistants, my project managers, my CSMs when they work with clients. I think it's going to be here to stay. It's not a matter, it's not a feature anymore. I think it's an expectation. So I feel lucky that we were ahead of that curve. Um, I do think that it it could have a capacity or a propensity to hurt someone's natural intelligence, because it breeds laziness, kind of.
Mm.
Um, I when AI blew up, I made an effort actually to buy Sudoku books and play chess
Yeah.
again. Uh, and honestly, like,
Wonderful.
I don't know if you noticed, like, a lot of chess groups have formed themselves too. Like, I think
They
chess
have.
is coming back as a
It
thing, right?
is.
Um, and some of these, like, weirder hobbies, like yo-yo, and I don't know.
Yeah.
As I
Go.
started playing poker again, yeah,
Ah.
exactly. Um, because I feel like a lot of people are so dependent on, will be dependent on AI to think for them, and then it becomes a crutch.
Yeah, I mean, I use it every day, but I use it. I kind of create the points that I want to say in an email, for example, and then I have it,
Right.
write something, and then I get that, and then from there, I work it again as a draft. So I just kind of help me piece things together. But I can see kind of laziness where they're just kind of putting things,
Right.
because it's wrong, right? Often
Right.
it's not correct. Uh, and so we have to do something about that. I wonder, um, what's next? What's next for outsourcing? Like, do you see that as becoming a major influence in businesses?
I think what's next in outsourcing is that before, outsourcing was limited to clerical administrative type jobs. And I think
Uh,
that, the pandemic just really opened up the world. And first of all, it made people that didn't know outsourcing finally outsource. And then it also made people who are already outsourcing outsource more. And this is the funny thing that I noticed in my company, actually being in outsourcing for years and years, almost a decade now. I've noticed that only 10% of our new clients want assistance. They want
hmm.
project managers, they want client success managers, they want managerial roles. So I feel like, because the world is now more used to working remotely, it will even have open up positions for like C-suite, higher level consulting, we have conversion rate optimization specialists in our team, and
Wow.
these titles used to be very like high level, and you only hire within, you know, your country or people who speak your language. But now the world is just really, really opened up. So I feel like the direction that outsourcing is going is more into that, companies being more diverse in terms of the teammates that they have. And also, I think that a lot of the assistant type jobs, honestly, will be mostly can be done with AI. And so the good thing here, they won't lose their jobs. The good thing here is that people who used to be virtual assistants can now rise to higher level
Mm.
positions. And because they're not doing clerical stuff and AI can help them out, they can now rise to, if they want to, no? Like what we mentioned, some of the effects is laziness, and
Mm.
some is inspiration to do more of what like inspires them or what they want to do.
So, Carla, why use a BPO like yourself versus finding an independent contractor on Upwork, Fiverr, these kinds of sites?
Oh, I love that question. So the I would say there are three major benefits of working with a managed outsourcing company. Number one is security and reputation, right? For established businesses like ours, if you're working with someone from another country, you want your IP protected. You want your confidential information protected. You want that
Hmm.
there are consequences if someone breaks these things, right? And for companies like us with entities in the Philippines, we have like lawyers on the team, we have accountants, we have contracts that protect your IP and your confidential
Hmm.
information. And of course, the reputation of, we have been a business for a long time, we're not going to close down. We care about our reviews and our brand, obviously. So that's just more security for you. So security and reputation, I would say, is number one. Number two is companies are ahead of you in terms of hiring and onboarding. So you come to companies like us because you don't know how to do this yourself, unless I don't know, if you're an HR professional, then you're amazing at hiring. And now the other layer of that is you're hiring from another country, which you might not
Mm.
be super familiar with. And so we help with a client, we're there from the consulting, recruitment, vetting, background checks to provide that for our clients. We're there in the onboarding. When we pass you off to a client success manager, that CSM is assigned to take care of you. And this CSM is your best friend in the company. Issues, big or small, tell it to your CSM and they'll help you out. So you're now working with experts, not just in the thing that you want done, but in how this whole arrangement happens. So there's that, because a lot of people don't know how to hire or how to onboard because it's just not their expertise, and that is most people.
Mm.
And then I would say number three benefit is, you're not going at it alone. And I think that's really important. If you're growing so fast, someone's going to assist you in this growth. If you tell me that, Carla, I need one virtual assistant today, but if this works out and my business grows because now I have the time, I have more time to sell, then I will need next month, I will need 10 more people or something.
Mm. Mm.
If you were doing that alone, that would be just crazy. So you would be sacrificing your growth, you would be sacrificing time, and you would be risking a lot of mistakes.
Hmm.
Whereas if you have a company that's working with you, they can scale as you scale. And because we have over 100 people in our team, a hire of 10 like that is easy for us.
Wow. Wow, that's very impressive, Carlos. So I started my business when I was younger in the '90s,
Ooh.
perhaps when you were born, and I wasn't paying attention to myself. I was working way too hard, and I found myself very heavy, right? I was in a tech industry. I found myself 340 pounds.
Ooh.
And the doctor said to me, if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. She was just born.
Oh.
So I spent the next year and a half losing about 130 pounds. And people always ask me, how did you lose all that weight? And I just say discipline. Now,
Mm.
given your background, Karla, how does discipline play a role in your life?
I love that question. I think discipline is honoring what is given to you. You know,
Huh.
people talk a lot about privilege, right? You are privileged because you were born in America. Someone will say some people are privileged because they're better looking or their faces are more symmetrical, however you want to address that. Some people are stronger. Some people have complete limbs, so they're more privileged than people who
Mm.
have been born sick. So privilege comes in many ways, right? However, I think every single person has their own set of privileges and has their own set of strengths, and I think that discipline is the best way to honor that. I
Wow.
I think that I had some gifts that helped me get ahead of my peers. Like I learned how to read at 2, and that was such a gift from God, really. And it helped me realize that my strength was in linguistics and communications. And then I became a writer, and I became a public speaker and all journalist and all that. And so it was all kind of related to language, right? I also have weaknesses. Like, believe it or not, it's very hard for me to read a map. I got tested for this, and I actually have low spatial intelligence, and it's hard for me to analyze space, and it's harder for me to imagine what 50 square meters looks like. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like things like that. And it's hard for me to read a map. It's hard for me to remember directions, even though I've driven in this place many, many times. So
Wow.
I have misgivings, but I also have gifts. And I feel like every single person has gifts and misgivings. But if you focus on your gifts and really turn up the volume on that, the best way to do that is to have discipline. Uh,
Hmm.
that's my opinion.
Boy, honor your gifts. Honor your strengths is discipline. I've never heard that before, but that's wonderful. It's a wonderful sentiment.
Yeah, I feel like discipline is really the thing, right? If
Hmm.
you have certain gifts, then you have an advantage. But if you don't have discipline, what will you do with these gifts? Just be a
Hmm.
stoner, right? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like
Hmm.
what I imagine a person with no discipline, I always think like just like a stoner that just sits in
Lazy?
there. Yeah, lazy, right? So, oh, I might get canceled here by stoners. I'm sorry. I think there
No.
are stoners with discipline,
Well, I guess that's a very vague term, but I think lazy is one of the greatest insults, I think. I mean, lazy to me
right?
means you have these privileges, you have the ability, you just don't want to do it.
Right?
That's a shame. It's a tragedy.
It is. It is. It is hell. It is hell. And people are very sensitive when discussing the word privilege, but really, we have privileges over every other person. We have certain advantages over literally anyone. Just having complete limbs and
Yeah,
your eyesight working, right? Like that is a privilege.
it certainly is. Karla Singson, what motivates you?
I th- I think peace motivates me, and the state of peace. Um,
Peace.
when I was hustling really hard, and I get asked this question, "What does success mean to you?" Right?
Mm.
I used to say, "Oh, being able to live comfortably, freedom, uh, time freedom, location freedom, freedom from the opinions of others." And at that time, I was really into working hard so I don't have to.
Mm.
And then I realized that I actually like working. I actually like, to use my brain. I
Me
like
too.
solving problems. But I think a state that is better than the state of creation is a state of peace. And so now when I decide, I've really slowed down my life. In fact, I quit as a CEO last November of my own company, and I started to learn a new language, pick up a new sport, and I removed myself from the company on a day to day basis, and I went on this like kind of like a sabbatical, but also kind of a self knowing journey or a reintroduction to the self. And I realized that the thing that I really want the most is peace. And whatever gets me there, I'm going to work on those things. And so, for some people, it's minimalism. For me, my business brings me peace because I like what I'm doing. And when I like what I'm doing, I have more empathy. I like myself more when I look at the mirror. So it's just kind of like a web of these things. But I feel like everything that I'm doing just always flows back into having more peace. And I feel like it's the best state ever. So yeah, so because of
Hmm.
that, I felt like I've become a more honest person. Like, someone invites me to something and I don't want to do it, I just honestly tell them that I don't want to do it. But before, I had some people pleasing tendencies, and things like that. And so in my head now, I'm like, will this bring me peace, or this give me peace knowing that I'll do this? So that's just like my motivation. And it's not hustle, it's not money anymore, or freedom
Hmm.
from things, but just that state.
Peace motivates you. So peace, it's tranquility. It's
Mm,
like you say, freedom from disruption. From I'm going to guess, uh, just kind of evilness, just kind of turmoil.
right? Yeah, I feel like the world's so noisy. I don't watch
Yeah.
news. Um, I and I feel like I'm motivated by peace in such a way that I want it for myself and I want it for other people too, which is,
Mm.
once again, is such an honor to be doing outsourcing, because the life changes that, not being in the day to day of their business or not firefighting all the time, the gift of being able and being able to give that to our clients is in line with it, with my personal motivation. So so once it is truly an honor to do what I do, and to also apply that to my own life.
Yeah. I like you. I can't imagine, not working. I love it. I love the idea of,
Right.
helping others, of, like you said, once you kind of find this, you find something you like, you want others to be able to have this joy that you're celebrating. And with you, that's peace.
Yeah. And before, when I was starting my outsourcing company, when I closed all of the sales because I was starting out, no. Most of the
Hmm.
people I discover, most of the people I talk to would say stuff like, "Oh, I need to outsource because I don't want to be doing this for my business." And then as I talk to more and more people, I realize it's not that these people don't want to work. There is something in their business that they love, and that's why they chose this business. However, there's just other things that they don't, but they want to keep doing the thing that they love.
Hmm.
um, they don't want to stop thinking, they don't want to stop creating. There are certain tasks in their business that they want to be doing, and these things actually bring them peace too.
Hmm.
And a state of flow, like a lot of entrepreneurs talk about the state of flow. So if you outsource, just, it doesn't mean that you don't have to work in your business, but it means that you can only work on the things that you love working on.
Yeah, and it's fascinating to me how, oh my goodness, you just said so much there. I just want to soak it in, Carla. And it's fascinating to me that, well, so then how do you kind of answered it too. So you measure success by how much peace you have?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I grew up in a I grew up poor in a poor country,
Hmm.
so it's a different world for sure. And I went through this phase of wanting so many material things, right? But I realized that after X amount, you don't really need a lot more. And so, although I love growth and I would love to retire before 40, um, I still think that a lot of people are really, really misguided by what they're kind of looking for or striving towards in life. And so um, I think that I think that people don't really take time to think about what they want and what state they want to be in. Um, Especially women, unfortunately, a lot of women are hardened by their experiences and trauma, and they're confused by society's messaging of you can do everything, but also like you can just it's not a woman's nature to always hustle and find and solve things like all the time, you know so that's another conversation. But but I feel like I would just love to invite everyone to kind of actually really sit and decide what is the state of being that you want to be. What is your favorite state, right? And then maybe there's ways to get there. They're not that hard.
Yeah, kind of work backwards. What's your goal, and then find your way back. My father's an Italian immigrant, and he
Mm,
he didn't get his first pair of shoes until he was 12. He was
wow.
in a farm, and he finally got over here through his mother, and then my mother was an immigrant as well. So I was kind of instilled with these. Things can get really bad. Be grateful for what you have. Fight for what you want. Get a goal
Mm,
and get there. So I share a lot in what you said, but I guess I never really thought of peace as a goal, as a place, but it's really what I want as well. And I just don't really describe it that way. I tend to perhaps overwork a bit, but I like to, I have some hobbies and I like to bring friends around. But it's fascinating to me how you value peace so much. I never quite viewed it that way, Karla. It's fascinating.
Thank you. Thank you. I do think that men and women are wired very differently, and
Mm,
men are more motivated by achievement
mm,
and doing things and getting things done, and you know this by how our body responds. Like, what is the best feeling that a guy gets? Like, it is testosterone, right? When your body creates testosterone, adrenaline, and so your body produces these hormones when you're achieving something or running towards something, right? So there are those differences, but and then women, it's more like connection. The happy and nice hormones that we experience are related to like bonding or
connection.
um yeah, connection, like empathy, things like that. And so I think men and women are wired very differently. But what is like, I'm curious now that you're like thinking about it, what does a peaceful day look like to you?
Yeah, it's funny. So I'm empty nest. My daughters are 20,
Hmm.
23, so I don't they're not around all
It's
the
peaceful every
times.
day.
It's very peaceful. Yeah. So I get to play a little golf. I do get to work. I get to have great conversations with fascinating people like yourself. So there's certain cases where there's stress. I do have my tech business, and clients can raise a certain amount of stress with different you know
Mm,
varieties of drama, whether it's
mhm,
necessary or not. But that's just part of the work. But I don't work as much as I did because I value. I lost a lot of weight. I've had some
mhm,
tragedies in my life like you have, but I've really, I don't, you talked about minimalism at one point. My birthday was recently. Don't get me anything. I just want experiences. I don't need any more
right,
possessions in my life. I don't
right,
need any more. I don't, I live somewhere else 6 months of the year. When I come back here, I say, why do I need all this stuff? I didn't need it for 6 months. Why do I? So I find myself weekly putting stuff out and
right.
removing it. So the long answer to your great question is that I guess you can define it as peace. I find it that continuing connections with trusted loved ones and
Mm,
continuing that relationship, I find great happiness, strength, and peace.
right. Yeah. When you mentioned that, the visual that came to my mind is a Thanksgiving dinner. Why can't every night be like a Thanksgiving dinner,
Mm,
or just like this state of joy and like, you're not catastrophizing, you're not
mm,
firefighting, you're not like afraid that something's gonna go wrong. um, one of the things that also helped me bring me to this state is like reading. And
Mm.
I actually reread the 4 Hour Work Week, which is such a classic
Whoa.
in our industry, right? I
Yes.
reread it, and wow, rereading it after 7 years
Hmm.
is such a different vibe. And I remember Tim Ferriss said something about reading fiction instead of business books, and so I stopped reading business books and I started diving into psychological thrillers. And oh my
Oh,
God, I could just read for hours now. My husband is like, "Are you okay? Are you depressed? You're just like reading all the time." I'm like, "No, I'm so into this. Listen to this murder. I have to find out who the murderer is."
it
Yeah,
is.
so
I find that I can't read nonfiction at night. It doesn't make me, it doesn't put me at rest. I start thinking of ideas. I got to write stuff down.
right.
Fiction at night is great because it's a story. I can pause it. I can fall asleep. I can continue it, where it left off. So
Yeah.
I think it's important to read both. I do.
I I agree with you. I agree, and like we discussed about AI, I think aside from human like natural intelligence, I think that humans also need to consistently make an effort to exercise creativity. Really, even if it's just like watercolor painting or simple like knitting or whatever. I think we should all enrich our lives with some form of art.
I agree. I agree. Oh, don't get me going on art. Art is just so necessary. You need it. It's just a necessary form of education, of growth. Learn to play an instrument. Just constantly challenge yourself, and you'll find that peace. Karla, I was so excited when you accepted this. I really look forward to this, and I thank you so much for your time today. It's been absolutely great. How can people get in touch with you? Whoever's listening.
Thank you so much, Joey. It's been my honor as well. And you asked really amazing questions. So thank you for that. Made me think also. I'm going to journal about this. So thank you. I'm super grateful. Um, so, yeah, you guys can find me on Facebook, Karla Singson, or my personal profile is Karla Stefan Singson. If you want to follow me personally, a little bit of warning, I do post a lot of racy, raunchy, not safe for work jokes out there. Like, if you don't pay
Great.
our invoice in 24 hours, I will F your dad. Like things like that. So just be careful. Maybe don't show it to your dad.
I saw some
Um,
of those. They're funny.
yeah. And on Instagram, I'm at Karla Stefan. So feel free to message me about outsourcing, whatever. You can also mention this podcast. And if you want to work with us or have a free consult on the house, let us know. I'll give you a good deal. Mention this podcast or you're a friend of Joey, and I got you.
And Karla is spelled with a K, Karla, Singson, Singson. And we'll make sure to put it in the show notes. Karla, thank you so much for your time. I hope one day we'll meet face to face. You, your husband, and I will get a cup of coffee.
Oh, I would love that. And if you ever want to come to Mexico, your first shot of tequila is on me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Be well.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Would you like to financially support the podcast? You can go to our Patreon site. Consider $5, $10, or $20 a month. There's all kind of plans that we have there. There's like a one-time payment. What is this podcast episode worth to you? $25, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000. You be the judge. You can go to our PayPal account to do that as well. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.